Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of my podcast. This is Mistress Sweet Pea, Mistress of Tech and all things fun. And I hope everyone is having a fabuloso day. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I had to take some time off. I haven't done a lot of podcasting in a while because I've been kind of just taking a break, trying to, like, I guess you could say a mental health break. Not in a bad way, just kind of, we all need some time to just unwind and de-stress and just have some fun, which I'm in the process of. So things are going good. I hope everyone is doing an awesome job out there. I should say awesome job. Hope everyone's doing great, and there's you all are having fun, trying to enjoy the summer. I don't know where you guys are. Right now we're in Kansas City, Missouri, and it really doesn't feel like summer. It's not. I mean, it's a little warm, but it's more like spring warm. You know, at night it feels like fall. It just doesn't feel like summer. I don't know, it's weird. But anyways, today we're going to talk about how software is built without all that boring, fluffy stuff that comes with it. Because, you know, sometimes people talk about how they build an app and they go into that boring tech stuff that, not boring stuff, but they go into that stuff that's like you just sit there, it's like, okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. No problem. And it's like, Anyways, excuse the noise in the background. When you're staying in a city, this is what you expect to hear. So let's let them pass first. Okay. I hope it's nothing serious though, but anyways. Today, let's go ahead and get started on the software, how software gets built. So, software, and here's the most important thing to remember is most people imagine software being built by this lonely guy or girl who is in a room with nothing on the walls but a monitor, a keyboard, and big old headphones on, listening to whatever he or she is listening to, and they're creating these apps. It doesn't work like that. That's just a preconceived notion that people have. You and I can create apps. I'm actually in the process of creating one myself, but I won't give details yet because it's still trying to work all the bugs out of it. So today we're going to go behind the scenes and give you guys an idea of what it's like when apps are built without all that boring stuff, that technicality stuff that kind of puts everyone to sleep. So the first part of it is the idea phase. So it's basically every app starts with someone sitting down at a desk or wherever and saying, okay, what if I, what if I? So, or better yet, they say, what if? So in order to create an app, you need to come up with an idea or a concept. What is it that you're trying to do? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want your app to do? Do you want it to do this or that or three things at once? You have to have an idea and formulate a concept of what you want this app to accomplish. So, every piece of software starts with something, an idea, a suggestion, a muse. Some people have a muse where, they look for someone for inspiration. Or you could just be sitting on a bus or sitting on a train and someone will walk by, or you overhear a conversation and it's like, oh, I wonder if they can create an app for that, if that would help. And then you start formulating the wheels of the brain start turning. You have all these ideas, which is why I highly suggest, if you can, always carry a notebook and pen with you to jot down ideas. Because if you like to build apps, sometimes you should have something to write down, to put it in paper, so that way you could look at it later. Because sometimes we'll go back and we'll be like, oh man, I wish I wrote it down because now I don't remember what I thought. My thoughts were more like for someone like me who's older, but if you're like younger in your teens or 20s, I'm sure you don't need to do it. But I do recommend, regardless of what age you are, you should always have a notebook and pen with you to write down ideas. You'll be surprised. You can find amuse, you can get inspiration in the most unlikely places from the most unlikely people, too. It can happen anywhere. So I highly recommend it. Sometimes it could be a customer saying, like if you're in a store and you overhear a customer saying, how can I make this bigger? Or how do I get this to look like this? I've been using this app, but it's not helping. Sometimes, and I'm not saying eavesdrop on conversations, of course not, but sometimes you're in line and you just can't help but overhear something, and it's like, well, you know what? I wonder if I could do something with that. That sounds like a great idea. And these great ideas can lead to apps that can, and the world is your oyster. You can take off on it. You can create other ideas. It's amazing what you can find for inspiration. And also, developers are natural problem solvers. So if something irritates a developer, they'll likely build something that will overcome it so they don't have to go through it. So just remember that developers are problem solvers. So they're trying to find a solution, and the application that they're creating is going to make that a solution to the problem. So then comes requirements gathering. Basically, sometimes you have people who come together from different cultures, different languages. They come and they sit together in a room or whatever, and they brainstorm off each other. They come up with ideas. They write on whiteboards. You name it. The possibilities are endless. And then they talk about how the app should be. Should it be user-friendly? You need to add color to make it pop? Does it need to explode? When do we want to execute this app by? Like all these ideas and again, this is why a notebook is very important to have. And then also, you have to remember that no app is foolproof. So you're going to have to tweak your app. Just when you create it and build it, you're going to have bugs in it. You have to just tweak it until you have it to the way you want it to be. So that way it serves the purpose that you're trying to prove. The next one is the design. Before anyone writes code, they draw boxes and arrows. I'm not sure if you've ever seen like people on whiteboards, those big little boxes and with an arrow going here. This is what we're going to create, and this is what the end result's supposed to look like. So like they'll do like all these arrows in between this. That's how brainstorming works for most people. But everyone's different. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way. Some people just write sentences on pieces of paper. That helps. Whatever works for you. I'm visual. I need to see it. So for me, I need to see everything up front. So design is the blueprint stage, and it's not it's basically you're trying to develop like the blueprint, the design, what you want your app to look like. This is where developers gather around and they come up with ideas and colors, components, boxes, what they want the app to do. They have arrows again that flow where the data is supposed to go. So it's like a what if. So if someone clicks on this box, then A, B, C, D, E, F, G is going to happen. If they click on this box, then I, J, K, L, M, N happens. So it's a interwoven mix of things that all come together to perform a final end result. You'll hear phrases like we need a microservice, or let's decouple the architect. We should containerize it. You'll hear all these words and big words thrown out there. It's just, I believe when I am developing my app right now, I don't use big words. I just use, this is what I want to do. And I just make charts and get everything going. If you're in a company, that's one thing. I can see those big words being tossed around, but if you're not in a company, whatever works best. It's comfort. So the design team is where the team will decide how the system will scale, how data will be stored, different parts, how they're going to communicate with each other, and how to avoid breaking the existing system. So it's like planning a city. You need roads, plumbing, zoning, a place for coffee shops. If you forget one thing, like where the sewage plant goes, then the whole city suffers. So it's like when you're creating a city, you need to consider all these aspects like zoning, plumbing, power, all of that, all these roads. It's the same thing with developing an app. You need to make sure you utilize all your resources and you don't skip anything. You want to make sure you've taken every aspect and every item into consideration. And sometimes we do forget, but that's is where we go back to the board and we start brainstorming again to make sure we don't forget stuff. And then the next part is coding. This is where the magic and the chaos happens at the same time. So coding is the glamorous part, at least that's what some people think. I like the coding. I'm still learning at it. I'm not 100% confident with it yet. I'm getting there, but the coding part is definitely fun and chaotic at the same time. So coding is 30% writing code, 30% reading code, and then 30% for Googling. So, and 10% starting at the screen wondering, why isn't this working? This is basically what it is. 30% writing the code, 30% reading the code, 30% Googling to find out if you did it right, and then 10% staring at the screen saying, okay, why didn't this work? What's going on? Where did I go wrong? Because with coding, you have to be 100%, you have to be very particular, and that's where you have to slow down with coding, because if you have a punctuation or something out of place, the whole thing is ruined. You got to go back to the drawing board and figure out where the errors started. So then then we have version control, which is like a time machine for code. It tracks every change, color, mistake, every fix. But when two developers edit the same file, the system throws a merge conflict, which basically is the code saying, I can't do two things at the same time. So you have to figure it out. So the developers have to go back again to the drawing board and figure out what happened and resolve it. Then there's also the portion with the bugs and the testing, why software breaks, why, what happened, how do we fix it? Every software has bugs. So when you go to your Google store or your Apple store and you want to download an app, especially if it's a new app, anticipate there being bugs. There always are going to be bugs at first, and it's normal. The app developers will put those apps on those stores, and they want feedback. So like, let's say they came up with a game, I don't know, let's call it game XYZ. It's a new game and they want people to try it out. So it's new, you download it and you're playing it and it's like, oh, this game is horrible. It's free, keeps freezing up on me. I keep seeing all these ads appear. It's not letting me advance to the next level. My points aren't I can't redeem my points. And then what you do is you go to the Apple store, for example, if wherever store you downloaded, whether it's Apple, Google, Microsoft, and you can put in a review. Those reviews are helpful. You don't want to criticize people. The app developers took a lot of time and effort to create that app, but they want feedback, whether it's positive or negative. If you give it negative feedback, give it in a polite manner. Let them know, hey, great app, but here are a few things I've noticed, and list them out, because that's what they want. Like when I create my app and it goes live, I want that feedback from everyone as well. I want people to tell me, hey, this is great, but let me make a few suggestions for you. And I want that, because those suggestions are what's going to help you grow, and it's going to be what's going to make your app a success. So again, definitely give reviews if you're trying out a new app, but again, if there's something wrong with it, start with a positive. Hey, great idea. Here are a few suggestions I recommend. List them out, because let me tell you, app developers will love that, because that's how they know what they're doing is working or not, what they need to tweak, what they need to fix, and that's how app updates come about. When an app does an update, you have to update it on your phone or computer, and those updates are supposed to clear those bugs or fix them or remove them. So again, sometimes I believe Google does it. I'm not sure about Apple or Microsoft, where you can be an app tester, where you can test apps, and when they come out, they'll let you know, and you can download and test them and provide feedback. I highly recommend trying it out. I don't know if they still do that anymore. I haven't done it in almost a year now, so I don't know if they do or not, but I highly recommend trying it. It's really a great way, especially if you want to develop an app. what better way to learn than to see how someone else did it? And feedback is very important. Again, testing it is to become a test user is this is where the real human uses the software. It breaks it down and lets the developer know what they did right, what they did wrong. Again, when you give feedback, try to be as positive as you can. Sometimes bugs are bizarre and they develop questions, like they're questionable. Sometimes they're permanent bugs that that the code something happened in the code that they need to go back and fix. And then there's some people who develop apps and if they don't work, they just throw them out and start over. And there's nothing wrong with that either. Sometimes you just have to start over from scratch again. And that's the nature of the beast. Deployment, the terrifying moment when your code goes live. When it's like, da-da-da-da, drum roll please. And then it's like, okay, your app is live and it's out there. It's on the Google Store, the Apple Store, the Microsoft Store. It's live. This is where the team takes the code they've been working on, pushes it to the real world. Developers hit the deploy button, they launch it, they watch the logs, they wait to see what feedback they're gonna get. If something breaks in production, the live system, then it's a big deal because then production is sacred. So that's where the customers are. So production is when mistakes happen, they become visible. They want that feedback so they know what to do. Sometimes deployments do go very well and they deploy with no issues, and that can happen. Sometimes when you deploy an application and the whole thing just crashes and burns. It does happen. You don't give up. What you do is you go back to the drawing board and start over again, because let me tell you, if you give up, then don't give up. Just keep trying. It will work. It may take 3, 4, 5 times. And my app might be the same way. I may have to go back 10 times maybe. I won't know until my app is released. The next one is maintenance. Software is never done. It just gets updated forever and forever. Like on your app, if you look at your phone and your apps are always updated, it's because the developers behind the scenes are constantly making changes. They're adding more color, making things pop, going through, taking that feedback, making the changes needed. There's the whole thing that goes along with it. And software is never finished. There's always an update. You have to constantly update to keep it fresh, to keep it new, to keep it up to, to make your app desirable, that you want people to download it. So once it's released, then the real work begins, like the fixing the bugs, improving performance, updating security, adding features, removing features, see what works to keep, what doesn't work to get rid of, responding to feedback. User feedback is very important. Keeping up with new devices, new operating systems, browsers. It's basically kind of like owning your own home. You fix one thing and then suddenly something else breaks. Or you fix one thing and then something else needs your attention. It's just like the same thing with software. Not because developers are bored, but because the world keeps changing. So as the world keeps changing, software needs to keep getting updated. Software is alive, it evolves, it grows, it breaks, you patch it up, it gets better. It's a constant cycle. But the more you do at it, the more you work at it, the better it will be. And on that note, I do want to close and thank everyone for tuning in today to this podcast. App development is definitely something I highly recommend if you're interested in creating an app. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you can come up with your own, you can come up with your own idea for an app. You could be anywhere and overhear something and come up with an idea. Or if there's something that you think could be better, could be improved with an app, get it figured out. It's definitely possible. So that's how apps get built in the real world, with the messy, brilliant, creative, chaotic version, all the behind the scenes fun stuff. Next time your app doesn't update or whatever, just remember there's a whole team behind that program. There's a whole team behind Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, all those apps behind the scenes are constantly working to make it better for all of us. And on that note, I wish everyone a great day. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next time. Ciao.